Joe Alton, MD of the survival medicine website doomandbloom.net and co-author of the Survival Medicine Handbook. You might know me as Dr. Bones. Well, it's National Preparedness Month, and with earthquakes and hurricanes in the news, it couldn't be more timely, and darned if we haven't dodged a proverbial bullet twice since last year. In November, our cabin in Gatlinburg was threatened by a forest fire that burned 100 homes to the foundation just a few hundred yards away on the same mountain. Now, more recently, our primary home in South Florida was pummeled mercilessly by Hurricane Irma. You know, we travel much of the year to various preparedness events to speak and show off some of our medical kits for survival and wilderness settings. As such, we are often not at either of our places, and in the case of the wildfire and the hurricane, we had left each place about 2 weeks prior to the events. Neither of these were a threat at the time, but it just goes to show that a disaster can occur anytime. Now, I'll admit that you probably won't be a victim of a disaster tomorrow or next week, but if you think about a longer time span, say your entire lifetime, the odds aren't so small. If you add in your children's lifetimes, well, the odds are greater still. Therefore, it makes sense for our nation to instill a culture of preparedness in our society, and this includes, of course, medical preparedness. In a world where high-level medical care is just minutes away, we have become too secure in the notion that help is always just around the corner. Now, unfortunately, the truth is that it is rarely immediately at hand, and therefore, rapid actions by Good Samaritans at the scene can make the difference between life and death in car crashes and shooter events and natural disasters, just about anything. You might have read about the golden hour. Now, this is the dictum that says survival rates after trauma drop significantly if help isn't obtained within an hour. Well, an arterial bleed can put you beyond medical help in a much shorter time. Perhaps they should call it the platinum 5 minutes. Now, if aid isn't administered in the first few minutes, hemorrhage, especially arterial hemorrhage, can be fatal. In a mass casualty incident, as you might see in a hurricane or tornado or active shooter event, well, the sheer number of those people needing help could overwhelm the ability to attend to them in a short period of time. Now, that doesn't even take into account flooding or damage to roads that might prevent medical personnel from actually reaching victims, actually getting to the victims. Now, how many average citizens know how to stop a major hemorrhage? Well, maybe only those in the medical field or those people who take first responder classes. They may have been taught basic techniques such as maybe even how to use a tourniquet. But although you can find fire extinguishers on the wall, there are no medical kits readily available to help these lifesavers. Maybe automated defibrillators if people have heart attacks, that's about it. Is it time to have stop the bleed medical kits on the wall in case of emergency break glass? Is it time to teach how to stop bleeding, perhaps as a subject in school, maybe as a presentation in a workplace? As horrible as this sounds, it's possible that we may have reached that point. Disasters occur regularly, not just terrorist events, but natural disasters such as tornadoes, hurricane, floods, and others as well. If bleeding first aid were a part of the curriculum in school for our young people, would it make a difference? If the 3 R's of reading, writing, arithmetic are important to teach, is it important to teach first aid? Is reduce hemorrhage the 4th R? Well, imagine a community full of people who learn to deal with injuries during their school years. Would there be lives saved, even if it's just by a witness to a car accident? And how many lives would have to be saved for such a subject to be worthwhile to teach? Also, is it time for medical kits to be placed on the wall in every school, workplace, and mall? Well, some might say that it makes people uncomfortable to see them. Well, sure, probably as much as when you pass a fire extinguisher at the local store. Well, I'll tell you what makes me uncomfortable is seeing somebody bleeding to death or otherwise gravely injured on the street with people just looking on and not knowing what to do. That makes me uncomfortable. Certainly, first aid courses in schools might not be for kindergartners, maybe more for teens, at the very least for every teacher. Videos and demonstrations would be important to desensitize students to the topic. Of course, parents who are concerned that their kid would be traumatized emotionally would protest, but perhaps, however, those children who underwent the training might develop a little more fortitude than maybe our current crop of, say, college students. They seem to have lost their resilience in the face of adversity. We need to get it back. These are hard times, and they come with hard realities. You might choose to live in denial of the new normal, but I think you'd be grateful if the life of a loved one was saved by someone who learned reading, writing, arithmetic, and reduced hemorrhage. This is Joe Alton, MD, that old Dr. Bones, wishing you the best of health in good times or bad. Thanks for watching. Hey, make an old man, that's me, very happy, and your family more medically prepared by following us on Twitter at Prepper Show, Facebook at Doom and Bloom, and we would be honored if you subscribe to this YouTube channel. And if you're in need of a good medical kit, I know where you can get one at store.doomandbloom.net. That's store.doomandbloom.net. Thanks again.